everyone, Nicole Russo and Dan Illman coming to you with this week's edition of the Oaks Countdown. And once again, a lot to look back at and a lot to look ahead to as we're now in that final countdown of major point prep races. So let's get right to it by showing you the current leaderboard chasing a spot in that 14 horse Oaks starting gate. We've got a filly moving atop the leaderboard who, Dan, maybe has established herself as an Oaks favorite, pending what happens this coming weekend, of course.
As of right now, she is a deserving Oaks favorite. She is wet paint. She's unbeaten on dirt, and she did not disappoint at odds on in the fantasy for trainer Brad Cox last time out. And finally, we got to see a fast race from wet paint, and perhaps coincidentally, it was her first race on fast dirt.
Yeah, definitely good to see her do it on a fast track. Her other wins, including her maiden last fall at Indiana, did come on wet tracks. And let's show you that fantasy win on the fast Oaklawn track by wet paint. Got away a step slow, and you see her sweeping to the lead here wide in the blinkers and the Godolphin blue. Really one going away while earning a career best by her third straight stakes win at Oaklawn as she rolls on toward Kentucky.
She's simply too good for the fillies in Arkansas right now. As you mentioned, she swept the series at Oaklawn this winter. She didn't break very well. She is more of a closer, so that doesn't bother you too much as long as she gets a little bit of pace and she gets the right trip, and that's exactly what happened at Oaklawn, and it always helps when you're the best horse, and Wet Paint is just the best of the division at Oaklawn and could very well be the best of this crop.
Yeah, and I did like seeing her get away a step slowly. Really not the break I was looking for her, and she overcame that for the win against, as you mentioned, a group of fillies I think are simply outclassed. The competition's going to get tougher, but I think a little bit more of a learning experience that she got over the weekend.
You're absolutely right. It's nice to see her in a bigger and bulky field, which is what she's going to face in the Kentucky Oaks. And she's going to have to weave her way around or through horses and take some dirt in her face. She's obviously very professional. She is talented. She's well connected. There are a lot of attributes that are obvious for wet paint. And we'll see what happens this weekend. But she is a logical contender in this year's Kentucky Oaks.
And meanwhile, down at Gulfstream, another filly emerging as a contender, Affirmative Lady, who will watch winning the Gulfstream Oaks. Now, she's coming through there, the number 4, with that head down low and that big old stride. Something about her head carriage and way of moving really reminds me of her sire Arrogate, who, of course, sired last year's Kentucky Oaks winner Secret Oath from his first crop. Affirmative Lady earned a career best buyer of 81 here. Not a huge number, but a big step forward on the scale from her previous career high.
And she's taken steps forward ever since Graham Motion put blinkers on 2 starts back at Gulfstream Park. She's been unbeatable since then. And one of the reasons Affirmative Lady, despite sort of a paltry Buyer's speed figure compared to some of the others coming into the Kentucky Oaks, what makes her interesting is that Graham's always liked her. And he's a very conservative trainer. He ran this filly in the Demoiselle as a maiden in only her 3rd start in her first route race. She acquitted herself quite well. She seems to be coming into her own. Distance is not going to be an issue. I won't be surprised if she takes a big step forward on Oaks Day.
I think you hit absolutely the nail on the head there, Dan. Graham Motion, a classic winning trainer, a conservative horseman. This filly was twice stakes placed while still a maiden. He doesn't do that often, so you can tell he thought highly of this filly. You can tell that he wanted to run her at a route of ground, and she's really putting it all together now at the right time.
No, she certainly is. And this is the time of year where these fillies are really starting to fill out and mature. And I think we're seeing that with Affirmative Lady, a filly that probably wanted distance from the start, got a couple of sprints early in her career. I don't think Graham was interested in winning early with her, just getting some experience, getting some foundation. And now she has plenty of foundation. 4 route races going into the Kentucky Oaks. She's very professional. She just needs to run a little bit faster.
Well, there are only 4 points races remaining toward the Kentucky Oaks, and 3 of them are coming up later this week. They're all those major point preps offering 100 points to their respective winners and on down the scale. A lot of focus is going to be on the Ashland at Keeneland, which we'll draw the field for later today. we're expecting to see champion Wonder Wheel back in action. Upset in the Suncoast last out, as we've discussed extensively. I think maybe she needed that race, and she's coming back to a track she obviously loves, having won that pair of grade ones here last fall.
Usually champions don't have a lot to prove. Wonder Wheel has a lot to prove coming into this, Ashlyn, because she was upset at Tampa Bay in her seasonal debut, and yes, she might have needed the race. We know she obviously likes Keeneland. We know she is talented, but she's going to have to show it on the track against a pretty good field. Todd Pletcher has the beautifully bred Julia Shining, and he's handled her, I think, very well coming into this race. I think he's shown a lot of confidence in giving her plenty of time between races and really focusing on this big points race. Keep an eye on Punch Bowl for trainer Brad Cox. This filly is very lightly raced, 2 for 2, but has shown a lot of ability.
Yeah. And Julie Shining, you mentioned her beautiful breeding. Her sister Malathat used the Ashland as her stepping stone to her Kentucky Oaks win a couple of years ago. We're also expecting to see fillies like And Tell Me No Lies in the Santa Anita Oaks this weekend. Shittabooty and the Gazelle looking to keep rolling on the New York Trail to the Kentucky Oaks. Really, this weekend is going to do a lot to solidify the lineup for the Oaks.
No, these are win and you're in races, and pretty much if you finish second, you're going to be in to the Kentucky Oaks. You mentioned Shittabooty. It looks like Chad Brown will have a Cult, who is also a stakes winner in that race, the stablemate of Shittabooty. And Tell Me No Lies, I'm expecting to move forward in her second start off of a long layoff. But another horse to keep an eye on is an impressive maiden winner, Clearly Unhinged, for trainer Michael McCarthy.
Yeah, and this is the sort of crop where these late blooming fillies and these late blooming maiden winners, this is the sort of crop and the sort of year where one of those can take a big step forward here and put herself right in the mix. It is still a wide open group despite the impressive performances we've started seeing in some of these final preps.
You're absolutely right. This is the year where we haven't seen any of these fillies really separate themselves from the pack. Certainly Wet Paint has done some excellent work at Oaklawn Park. It's not like she is so much faster, though, than the rest of the field that you want to give her a tremendous edge and make her an overwhelming favorite into the Kentucky Oaks. So don't be surprised if you see that breakthrough performance this week. I know we've been saying it every week on the Oaks Countdown. Maybe this week we'll see that breakout star.
Well, we are in the final countdown, so we're looking for that filly to really establish favoritism. Will it be Wet Paint? Will it be Wonder Wheel? Will it be somebody else coming through with that breakout performance? We're now just more than 4 weeks away from the Kentucky Oaks, and we'll be back to recap all of the action for you and take a look at the developing field next week here on DRFTV.